The Springboks may be sitting at the top of world rugby, but according to Bob Skinstad, life at the summit has never been more dangerous. Every champion eventually becomes the team everyone wants to beat, and the former South Africa captain believes that is exactly the reality facing Rassie Erasmus and his squad as they prepare for what he calls a season unlike any other. Success has brought pride, trophies, and worldwide respect, but it has also placed an enormous target on the backs of the green and gold. Every opponent wants to be the one to end their dominance, every stadium will be filled with fans hoping to witness an upset, and every test match will feel like a World Cup final. Yet, in Skinstad's eyes, that pressure is not something to fear, it is exactly the challenge this Springbok team needs if they want to remain the benchmark of international rugby. South Africa have enjoyed one of the greatest eras in the history of the sport. Since lifting the Rugby World Cup in 2019 under the inspirational leadership of Siya Kolisi, they have continued to raise the standard rather than relax. They defended their world title in 2023 in dramatic fashion and followed it up by capturing back-to-back rugby championship crowns, proving that their success was no accident. For more than 6 years, they have remained the team everyone measures themselves against, combining physical power, tactical intelligence, and remarkable squad depth. Much of that sustained excellence has been credited to the vision of Rassie Erasmus, whose ability to rebuild while continuing to win has amazed rugby supporters around the world. Instead of relying on the same core group year after year, he has gradually introduced new talent without sacrificing results, creating fierce competition within the squad while ensuring the Springboks remain hungry for success. But staying on top is always harder than getting there, and Skinstad believes the next chapter could be the toughest yet. Looking ahead to the next 15 months before another Rugby World Cup, he acknowledges that remaining the world's best for such an extended period is an enormous challenge in professional sport. Every nation studies South Africa's tactics, every coach searches for weaknesses, and every player dreams of delivering the performance that finally brings the champions down. According to Skinstad, that's simply the price of sustained excellence. The Springboks now carry the burden of expectation wherever they go, knowing opponents will raise their intensity every single week because defeating South Africa has become rugby's ultimate statement. Adding to that challenge is an extraordinary fixture list that promises relentless intensity from beginning to end. Following their meeting with England, the Springboks continue their campaign with demanding tests against Scotland and Fiji before traveling to Argentina for another crucial international clash. But those matches are only the beginning. One of the highlights of the rugby calendar will then arrive as South Africa hosts New Zealand in a spectacular 4-test rivalry that will capture the attention of fans across the globe. Matches between these two giants have always produced unforgettable moments, but this series carries even greater significance as both teams continue building toward the next World Cup. There will barely be time to recover before another demanding stretch begins, with a trip to Australia followed by high-profile encounters against Italy, France, and Ireland during the Northern Hemisphere stage of the expanded international calendar. If the Springboks navigate those challenges successfully, a major final in London awaits to conclude an unforgettable season. For many squads, such a schedule would appear exhausting. For Skinstad, however, it represents an opportunity rather than a threat. He believes this relentless calendar will push the Springboks beyond their comfort zone and reveal exactly who is capable of thriving under the highest levels of pressure. Young players hoping to break into Rassie Erasmus' plans will have no shortage of opportunities to prove themselves, while experienced stars will be forced to maintain exceptional standards to protect their places. Internal competition has always been one of South Africa's greatest strengths, and this demanding season could elevate that competition to another level. Every training session, every selection meeting, and every test match becomes a chance for someone to make a statement. The race to secure a place in the squad for future tournaments will only become more intense, and that environment, according to Skinstad, is exactly what keeps championship teams evolving instead of becoming complacent. There's also a psychological battle unfolding behind the scenes. Remaining champions for such a long period requires more than physical strength or tactical excellence. It demands resilience, discipline, and the ability to ignore constant outside noise. Critics will question every team selection, every tactical adjustment, and every unexpected result. Rivals will celebrate every small setback as evidence that the Springboks are finally vulnerable. But history has shown that Rassie Erasmus has consistently found ways to turn pressure into motivation, using doubt as fuel rather than distraction. That mindset has helped transform South Africa into one of rugby's most respected and feared teams, and it could once again prove decisive during this demanding campaign. As another blockbuster encounter with England approaches, the occasion serves as a reminder of how far the Springboks have come and how much they still hope to achieve. The memories of previous World Cup triumphs continue to inspire supporters, but the focus inside the camp is firmly on the future. Every match from this point forward is another step toward defending their status as the world's leading rugby nation. The road ahead will undoubtedly be filled with obstacles, fierce rivals, and relentless scrutiny, but if Bob Skinstad is right, that is precisely what makes this journey so important. Champions are not remembered simply because they reached the top, they are remembered because they found a way to stay there when the entire rugby world was chasing them, and this remarkable Springbok squad now has the opportunity to prove once again that they possess exactly that kind of greatness.
The Springboks have spent years standing at the summit of world rugby, but, according to former South Africa captain Bob Skinstad, the greatest challenge has only just begun. Winning a Rugby World Cup is one thing, defending it is another. Remaining the world's #1 team for years, while every opponent desperately searches for a way to bring you down, is an entirely different battle. As Rassie Erasmus and his squad prepare for what promises to be one of the most demanding seasons in modern rugby history, Skinstad believes one truth has become impossible to ignore. The Springboks now have a target on their backs, and every nation in world rugby is lining up for its chance to take the champions down. It is the price of greatness. It is the burden of success. And if South Africa wants to remain the team everyone fears heading into the next Rugby World Cup, they must survive a schedule unlike anything international rugby has seen before. The remarkable story of this Springbok era began in 2018, when Rassie Erasmus accepted the challenge of rebuilding South African rugby after years of inconsistency. Expectations were high, but few imagined just how quickly the transformation would take place. Within just over a year, South Africa had climbed back to the top of world rugby, defeating England in the 2019 Rugby World Cup final to lift the Webb Ellis Cup. That unforgettable victory, inspired by captain Siya Kolisi, was more than just another trophy. It became one of the greatest sporting moments in South African history, uniting millions of supporters and announcing the return of rugby's sleeping giant. Many believed maintaining those standards would be nearly impossible. Instead, the Springboks somehow became even stronger. The years that followed only strengthened South Africa's reputation as rugby's ultimate powerhouse. Despite dealing with the challenges of the global pandemic, changing schedules, injuries, and fierce competition from traditional rivals, the Springboks refused to surrender their place among the elite. Every season seemed to introduce another chapter of success. The coaching group continued to evolve. Experienced stars remained hungry for more silverware, and exciting young players emerged ready to compete for jerseys that had become some of the hardest to earn anywhere in international rugby. By successfully defending their Rugby World Cup title in 2023 and adding consecutive rugby championship triumphs to their growing collection, Rassie Erasmus had achieved something very few coaches in world rugby history could claim. His squad was no longer simply successful. It had become a dynasty. Yet, according to Bob Skinstad, success creates its own dangers. Speaking about the current state of the Springboks, the former captain explained that remaining #1 for such a long period is perhaps the hardest task in professional sport. Every opponent now prepares differently when South Africa appears on the schedule. Coaches spend countless hours analyzing Springbok tactics. Players find extra motivation knowing victory over the world champions could define their careers. Fans pack stadiums hoping to witness history. The Springboks are no longer just another international side. They are the team everyone measures themselves against. As Skinstad put it, everybody is having a shot at South Africa because everybody wants to be the team that finally knocks the champions off their throne. That challenge becomes even greater because of what lies ahead over the next 15 months. Instead of enjoying a gradual build-up toward the next Rugby World Cup, the Springboks face one of the busiest and most demanding international calendars the sport has ever produced. It begins with another massive showdown against England, a fixture carrying enormous historical significance. Every meeting between these two rugby nations brings memories of World Cup finals, unforgettable rivalries, and physical contests that push players to their limits. But England is only the beginning. Following that encounter, South Africa must continue through an unforgiving series of tests against Scotland and Fiji before traveling to Argentina, where the Springboks have often faced one of the toughest away challenges in Southern Hemisphere, rugby. The passionate crowds in Buenos Aires, combined with Argentina's relentless physical style, ensure there are never easy victories. There will barely be time to recover before another monumental challenge arrives. One of the most anticipated events on the rugby calendar will then see South Africa renew its legendary rivalry with New Zealand. Few rivalries in world sport carry the same history, intensity, and mutual respect as the Springboks against the All Blacks. Every collision matters. Every possession feels decisive. Every mistake can change the outcome. With 4 blockbuster tests scheduled between the two rugby superpowers, supporters around the world will once again witness why this remains one of the greatest rivalries the game has ever produced. These matches will not simply decide bragging rights. They will offer both teams a chance to measure exactly where they stand before another World Cup campaign. If surviving New Zealand were not difficult enough, the Springboks must then travel to Australia before heading north for another demanding European campaign, featuring Italy, France, and Ireland. None of these opponents can be underestimated. France continued to develop into one of rugby's most dangerous attacking teams. Ireland have established themselves among the world's elite with consistency and tactical brilliance. Italy continue making significant progress each season and are capable of causing major upsets on home soil. By the time South Africa reaches the final stages of this exhausting campaign, a prestigious championship final in London could still await. It is a schedule built to test every aspect of a squad: fitness, depth, discipline, adaptability, and mental resilience. For Bob Skinstad, however, this relentless calendar may actually become one of South Africa's greatest advantages. Rather than viewing it as a threat, he believes it arrives at exactly the right moment for Rassie Erasmus and his players. Great teams cannot remain great by avoiding difficult situations. They improve because they continue facing them. Every demanding tour, every hostile crowd, every high-pressure test forces players to grow stronger.